a study found that marriages that were consummated during economic downturns actually proved longer lasting than unions in periods of relative prosperity.
And now, coming to you from the K2 studios in San Diego, California, it's the world-famous Kris and Kristine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for listening, and I am Kris.
And I'm Kristine, and welcome to episode 98 of the Kris and Kristine Show. Do-do-do-do.
Fantastic. It is Sunday. We actually are recording this one day late. So we are in the future now, or I guess the past, or how we look at it.
I don't know, but I think that I sometimes like doing it on Sundays, but we're having to adjust a little bit our podcasting schedule as Kristine Smith Designs gets up and running a bit more.
So what is Kristine Smith Designs?
Well, thank you so much for asking, Kris. It is I don't want to call it new venture because I've been in the wedding biz for like 12, 13 years, but I took a break when I moved down here to San Diego. And Kristine Smith Designs is my business, and it is a wedding coordination and planning and floral design business, and it is booming.
Booming. Kristine yesterday actually was gone all day at a wedding and event. She was taking care of hosting the whole thing. What were you doing?
Yeah, so I was the wedding coordinator, and I did some floral design prep work on a few days prior, getting ready for it. But I was serving as the day of wedding coordinator for a really sweet couple, and they had a family-centered, smaller wedding in the parents' backyard, which was gorgeous. It looked like an event venue itself. And
are you responsible for setting all that stuff up?
That's a great question. No, so my responsibilities are I do the decor. I mean, I did set up some stuff, but I don't do the heavy lifting stuff. They have to have other people to do that because I'm not able to do all of that plus work a 13 or 14 hour event. And so the family had set up the tables and chairs, but I did have to do things that I don't normally do, like bringing all the alcohol out and icing it and stuff like that. And so that was a little bit hard.
Did they have a bartender at the event or like that? Or a DJ or something like that?
They had a DJ, a really good DJ. And I can't remember what the company is called, but it's Terry Nava, and they were fantastic. But no, they didn't have a bartender. So the couple, they were really sweet, and they love some mixed drinks like margaritas and Moscow mules. And so they pre-mixed it into the big glass beverage containers. And so
the punch bowl or something?
Not a punch bowl, but the ones that have a little spigot on it. They look really nice. And so people could go and pour it that way. And then they had, what are they called? Cutwater spirits and bottled beers on ice, and then sodas and waters. And people could just walk up and grab what they wanted. But I took our silver beverage ice chest, the one that's on rollers.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. And I'm so glad I did because it was the only bottle opener that they had.
Oh, no way. You guys had the bottle opener built on the side of the actual cooler built in. Shout out to whoever designed that thing.
Yeah. And it was a wedding gift from my fabulous friend Fabi from work and her family. And it's come in so handy. And everybody's like, oh, I need to get one of those. That's so nice. Because it fits I don't know. I think there was 50 bottles of beer and then 30 bottled waters in there.
Plus ice on top. And it's got a cool little drain.
30 pounds or 40 pounds of ice in there.
There's a little drain on the bottom of it that you unplug, and you actually can drain the water out because, obviously when the ice melts, it turns into water. You can get the water out. And it's funny, that little drain plug, you unscrew it and it has a little bit of an angle at the bottom of the cooler to where the water can kind of drain out this little trough out the thing. So, so after a good party and you have all the ice in there, I just set it on the lawn and open it up and let the water, come out.
Yeah, it's really cool. And, the wedding was great, but I was exhausted when I came home.
I think you still are exhausted.
I am. Yeah, it's, it's a really rigorous day, and it was out in the heat almost all day. And so, I got on the road at 7:30 to go pick up the wedding cake and then had to drive up to North County for it. And then took very minimal breaks. And I was wearing dress shoes for the actual wedding. I wore tennies before and after, but wearing those dress shoes, it's really hard on your feet because it's not as cushy. So I think I'm going to need to find some really dressy tennis shoes.
Right. They have those, what are they? I would think that anybody who does any kind of real estate would probably have to wear something like that, but I could be wrong. Maybe.
No, they all wear, those chicks wear heels everywhere.
Yeah, you would think that, but all the walking around you'd think you'd do, showing the property, unless you're not really showing the property, maybe just showing them to the office and they're like, yeah, go look around the place. Yeah, just, okay, here's the key. Just go in, knock yourself out. I'll be in the car.
Well, I think it would be so cute if I got like some, because I wear black when I'm coordinating typically, because then you just kind of blend in. You don't stand out as much.
Oh, you're not wearing a white dress to the... It would be funny if you did.
But you have to be a lot behind the scenes. And so like wearing black always looks professional. And so I typically will like have my hair up in a bun and, you know, wear a nice blouse and stuff. But I wear a different outfit on the morning of like decor setup, you know, just shorts and a tank top and tennies, and then do a little quick change and throw my hair up in the bun, put a little bit of blush on and put my eyebrows on so I don't look scary.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you almost like, you said black. It kind of reminds me of like all the butlers and waiters have like
exactly.
They usually wear like the button-up black and white suits and or the ties and all that, and kind of be in the background and things like that. So, or you go to like some restaurants, sometimes they'll wear like the black, chefs will have like the black outfits on with the button down. What are those things the chefs have? They have like the buttons that go across. It's like a
I don't know. It's just like a chef's outfit.
Yes, one of those things. Yeah. You should get one of those, by the way. That's flowers.
Too hot.
Yeah, you're right. It's outside most. So speaking of being weddings in summertime's a big time for weddings, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so. And especially since there were no weddings or very minimal weddings last summer, it seems like it's even busier. But it's definitely been hot lately, which makes it hard when they're outdoor weddings, because if you think about it, especially when you're using like an outdoor park or something like that, if they don't have a like a restroom venue, then people have to bring in different types of porta potties. And do you know what
did they have one over there?
They did. But do you know what I found out is a huge business in the wedding industry?
What's that?
Fancy porta potties.
Do they have those?
They're called like posh privies.
Are you talking the ones that are like built into like a travel trailer? They're like, they bring a trailer over?
Oh, yes. And there's ones that's like, they're fancy, and it's like you walk in and sometimes it'll have like music playing, and they're a little bit roomier so that you're not like in an airplane stall.
And they probably have air conditioning in theirs too, right?
I don't know, but yesterday's didn't. Oh, Lord.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that sounds like a fun day you had yesterday.
I did. And you know, that couple, that Veronica and Poe, whose weddings that I did, they were just the most amazing couple to work with. And they gave me a gift at the end of the night.
No way. Wait. No. You're not supposed to get a gift. You're supposed to give a gift to the bride and groom. They don't give gifts.
But they were so appreciative, because the backstory is that they had to let go of their previous coordinator just 3 weeks before the wedding. And they found me, and I guess I did a lot more.
Wait, they let her go? Like go where?
Like they had to release her from her contract because she wasn't fulfilling it.
Got fired.
Yes, I was just saying it nicely.
But why would they fire her?
I just said because the person wasn't doing what they were contracted to do, and I'm not going to say any more than that. So they found me and hired me 3 weeks before, and they told me they were blown away by what I did, but I was just working really hard for them because I just felt like they were super stressed out. But what they did is they created for me a customized, branded Kristine Smith Designs t-shirt.
No way.
Yeah. So they used this machine called a Cricut that you can like cut out little designs.
Ironically, it does not play cricket.
I know. It's spelled CRICUT, but it's pronounced Cricut. And Veronica, the bride, she's really savvy with using it. And her husband, Poe, is such a good helper. So she printed it out, and then he did what's called weeding, which is like pulling out all of the little tiny pieces so that it just leaves the cutout design.
So it's not gardening we're talking about.
No, but it was like very delicate. If you see my logo at KristineSmithDesigns.com, you'll see it's a very delicate, like dainty logo. And they made this shirt for me, and they created the logo. They went to my website, downloaded the image, created it into an SVG, and then like there's all these steps that they do.
SVG, is that something you need designed for
the Cricut, an SVG file?
Okay.
So you have to like convert it and all of that.
Oh, it's computer language.
I know, but it was just so special. But I'm sorry, I've been rambling on because yesterday was a big day for me. It was a big not first wedding, but it was a big wedding.
It was your first time actually, because you started this business going into it thinking like, let's try this again. And you had a lot of people compliment you on the flowers you did for the 4th of July party we had. All the centerpieces, you designed those flowers, and everybody said you did such a fantastic job with that. And I think at that point was you got the idea like, maybe I should do this.
I was just like, I'll dip my toe in the water because I do events and things like that for fun and for friends. And I'm always there helping out. My mom raised us girls to be very hospitable. But yeah, it's definitely kind of something in my blood. So it was it's the first big gig since I've launched the business, the formal business name, the website, and everything. It's not the first time that I've done a wedding. It is the first time that I've done a big wedding in San Diego. I've done lots up in the Central Valley.
Are they as big or what?
There's just like a different culture around weddings here. And it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's more of a production.
Here?
Yeah, than it was in Fresno. It was like
the perfect sunset, the perfect pictures, the perfect dress, and the perfect lighting.
Yeah, like I didn't think sunset photos were a big thing until I moved to San Diego.
Do they have sunset photos in Fresno? What do you got? Like you got like the hills, or is there anything you think?
I guess you could up in the mountains, but you'd have to drive for it.
But nothing at the valley. There's nothing there.
But even the sunsets, it's like you're in the valley, so you don't get like an angle toward the sunset. Like the best thing with sunset photos is if you're like on Sunset Cliffs or on a mountain where it slopes down and you get that great image of the sunset behind you or at some kind of elevation. You don't really have that in Central Cal.
So you're like at the bottom of the bowl, you're looking out, and so you can't really. I guess I get that, but I just thought theoretically, since the sun's in the sky, you pretty much get a sunset shot anywhere.
Well, you can, but I just don't think it's as big of a thing in like Central California. I think sunset photos, like sunset wedding photos, are like a beachy town kind of thing.
It's funny. I saw this meme on Instagram the other day from this Instagram feed I follow about San Diego stuff. And they always throw jokes and stuff, joke memes. And they had this meme where this guy is like sneaking out of a car and takes a little picture with his camera, like one of those like PI photographers, snaps it. It says every San Diego when they see a sunset.
Yeah.
Like, gotcha.
It is so funny. But enough of me. What has happened in your week, Kris, and how are you doing?
Well, back to work, the usual stuff. Speaking of work, I'm actually going to work next week. Actually, tomorrow's Monday, and I'm going to be there Monday morning at 8 a.m.
What?
What is it?
You're like a vampire. The opposite of a vampire, an umpire.
What is that going to be all about? Well, it turns out that I am going to be one of the exclusives. I should say the exclusive driver trainer at my work and the night crew, actually. So I'll be training new guys, and I'll be training guys that have screwed up and other drivers.
Oh, those guys that screwed up.
And I'll be put them in line. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be not the smoothest, nicest guy out there. I'll be
all right. Be careful. Don't get cocky.
No, I'll be cool about it. But so next week, I personally have to go through training myself. They got to train me so I can train the other guys. It's a whole thing they do. Now,
didn't you also get something this week at work to kind of demonstrate why you are such a badass driver? Sorry for the language, everybody.
They've been asking me to do this for years, be the trainer for years, and the reason why is because every single year since I've been there, I am pretty much the best. And I don't like to brag about it that much, but I am the best. And
I don't like to brag, but I'm the best.
They did hand me another award and another trophy. And the trophy happens to be sitting above me, behind me, saying I'm the best for 2020.
It does. It says that Kris got the Safe Driver Award, and it's this really cute acrylic trophy in the shape of a semi-truck with the company logo on it. And it's so cute. It's like the cutest. I mean, I'm sorry. It's the most distinguished and handsome.
Actually, I like
macho.
Thank you. I like it better than some of the other ones they've given us in the past. So.
It really looks like it represents your field. The other ones have been like rectangles and stuff, but this is so adorable. I love it.
I know. My trophy collection over there.
I know. You do have a ton of them. It's because you are so good at what you do.
I am very good. I have to think about this. I'm very good at what I do. I think also, I mentioned this on my other podcast, Podtastic Audio. I think I have ADHD HD. right?
Like amplified ADHD?
And I think what it causes me to do is be very streamlined and actually focus. And I'm very laser focused. I do things in a sequence.
Yes, you do.
And if that sequence is broken, I go back to the start of that sequence and I do it all over again. So when I'm at work, I have very much a sequence when I do things. And I pretty much just focus on one delivery at a time. And I just focus on one thing I'm doing at a time. And nothing else matters until I finish that task. And that's kind of the way I do my job. And that's probably why I've been so successful at it.
Yeah, you really do have a specific approach to everything that you do. And I can see how in your line of work that it would make you stand apart because you are so detail oriented and you are about things being in order, that if things are out of order, you don't just let it go. You like retrace it or you triple check. And I think that especially when you're handling hazardous materials.
Yeah, like a big bomb.
Yeah, that it's definitely really helpful.
That's a lot of guys do too, is that like I have never have had a, what they call these drive cam. In the trucks, we have these drive cam systems. They're like cameras that get activated if you hit a bump or going too fast or something like that. And they kind of records you and it kind of records the road in front of you. And a lot of guys have gotten triggered or in trouble for that. Mm-hmm. I've never had it. I've been in 10 years and I've never had a problem.
Knock on wood.
Once. Okay, knock on wood. But I've never had that happen to me, you know?
Because you're so careful.
I'm very careful. And I've never had a contamination. A lot of guys have had contamination. Now, contamination is where you would put like the premium into the regular or regular into the premium or heaven forbid, the diesel into the gas.
But wouldn't I, like, if you put the regular or the premium into the regular, then I just happen to get, better gas.
Exactly.
For free.
That's exactly. It's funny I mentioned that's what they do. How do you fix that? What they do is if a driver accidentally put premium into the regular, they physically don't do anything except it's a paperwork nightmare. Figuring out what's this value that we sold you this and it's a numbers game, right? If they go the other way around, if they go regular into the premium,
they have to take it out, right?
Yes, they send a truck over, not our company. We'll send another company out with a pump on it.
Wow.
They will pump it over back into the regular. So the regular is still better than it was. The regular will be better.
Oh, because if they pump all of it and they just empty out that tank into the regular, it's not going to make a difference. But if it's mixed in the premium and somebody's car can only have premium, it could screw it up.
You're basically downgrading what you're doing. You're downgrading the premium to like a mid-grade. So you got to take all that out, put it into one of the regular tanks. They'll do there on the site.
Does the company take the hit for that? Because the owners of the place didn't screw it up?
Well, actually, yeah. And then what happens is that the next company, they'll hire another load of premium to come in and fill the premium back up again. So they'll do that, keep it all. Usually, they'll do that. I never had to do that. See, I've never had that problem. What really gets bad is if you do a diesel, because diesel, when you mix diesel and gas, you got to suck it out and they got to haul it up to someplace in LA
and separate it.
Yeah, they dump it off somewhere up there, and there's a place up there that a refinery or something will physically remove the diesel from the gas. And
that's crazy. That sounds so expensive.
And it gets I'm sure it is.
That person should be fired.
Well, they could.
Hopefully it's not you.
I know. But there's even one step even further than worse than that now.
What?
Now, some of these stations have E85 tanks.
Ooh.
Now, E85, if you're not familiar with that,
is it like just straight grain alcohol?
No. Well, yeah. It's E85. It's 85% ethanol and 15% gasoline. Now, we don't deliver that. That's not our product. We don't own that. It's delivered. Oh. It's owned and delivered by a separate company. It's a whole totally different separate company's thing on the same gas station.
Oh, wow.
So you have our gas at the station, plus you have somebody else's company's product at the station.
And they could accidentally put their stuff in yours?
Well, the other way around. We had a driver, I think in Phoenix or somewhere, did that. They actually dumped the gas into the E85 tank. Now, I heard it was a total nightmare.
Oh, my gosh.
Because now you're crossing companies, you're crossing, not only crossing products, you're crossing a complete different thing, So it's like mixing Coke and Pepsi,
So are you the reason then that, or not you, but the others that work with you, the reason why gas prices are going so high because you guys keep screwing up?
I don't.
And that's why they hired you as a trainer, is because they want to drive back down America's gas prices.
Well, the problem is we're having a hard time hiring people right now.
Oh.
There's not a lot of drivers available that can do it. There's drivers out there, but not a lot of drivers that are certified or want to get the certification to become a hazmat driver. So because of that, they're kind of they're hopefully in LA. Because LA, they're really shorthanded on drivers in LA. We're shorthanded drivers here in San Diego. Not as bad as up there. But so they're thinking they're going to get a surge of new hires coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to need me to train them. Or be one of the trainers. So.
Here's a fancy way to get a promotion. I really am so proud of you because I know that, there's been some things at work where other people got the driver trainer position and you were a bit miffed because you had a better record. And I know that didn't work out so well for some of those individuals. And, the fact that they reached out to you, I know that you wouldn't ever say that it's something that you really, really wanted, but I think that it does provide some validation to how hard you've worked and what a great worker you are.
It does. And a lot of guys kept telling me that all week long last week, too.
That you're such a good worker?
Well, they were just saying, yeah, you deserve it, and you should be driver trainer and all that kind of stuff, and congratulations, things like that.
I'm so proud of you, honey.
Oh, thanks, babe. Thanks.
Yeah, well, this has just been fun catching up with you about this week, but we have a really fun topic that we're going to be jumping into that relates to something that's been happening since COVID was first on the downturn, and now I guess it's on the upswing again.
What? What happened?
But an interesting topic for us to talk about, and we're going to be back with it right after this.
Hey there, K2 crew. We love having you as our loyal listeners.
To keep up to date with what's happening behind the scenes, check us out on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And don't forget to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah, tag us in your favorite fun stories, and guess what? You might just end up on the show.
Ooh.
Today's episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. Do you feel like you're stuck in that dinner rut? Like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? Well, with HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients with mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip all those lines at the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. You can now enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in 30 minutes or less. With 25 recipes to choose from each week, there's something for everyone to enjoy.
All recipes are designed and tested by professional chefs and nutritional experts to ensure deliciousness and simplicity. Some of those recipes are chicken and biscuit pot pie with carrots, celery, and fresh thyme, figgy balsamic pork cutlets with roasted green beans and rosemary potatoes, lemon cream chicken cutlets plus dilly potatoes and green beans, and taqueria pork bowls, which is a takeout favorite, with corn esquites, sour cream, and cilantro.
Go to the link in our show notes to get $80 off, including free shipping on HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And as promised, we have a special topic today, kind of a fun one, kind of controversial, but we are going to be talking about weddings.
We just talked about weddings.
I love talking about weddings.
I know you're the wedding coordinator. You're in the wedding business. So if anybody knows anything about weddings, it's gonna be Kristine over here.
Well, I know you like to talk about money and you like to talk about economics.
I like talking about having money, really.
I know, or not losing money. But one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about and pick your brain about is, as I've been on Instagram and in these wedding circles, everybody's been talking about what they're calling the quote-unquote wedding boom of 2021.
Wedding? You know what? Yeah, it makes sense because 2020 was last year, and that whole COVID thing was kind of a bigger deal than we thought it was going to be. So a lot of weddings, I would think, just shut down, canceled, closed, and now everything got booked up and pushed back into this year, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought too. But this concept or this topic of a wedding boom, it had me really wondering, what's behind it all? Is it just people that, were supposed to get married in 2020 and couldn't, and so now they're rolling forward? But what I found is that it's not all couples that were already previously engaged. There's some people that, according to some articles and some research that I did, are kind of accelerating their pathway to marriage because of everything that they endured together during the pandemic.
Is it because you think they're on death's doorstep and they're we got to get married fast because old Frank over there isn't going to make it?
It's interesting that you would ask that. So I found this article off of Bloomberg. And if you know anything about Bloomberg, it's really an economic website. So they really talk about
I read it every day in the bathroom. I'm all about it.
Yeah. They forecast different types of economic trends. So I pulled some sections out of the article that I wanted to read to you, Kris, and I want to get your opinion on some of the statements that they make here. Okay, are you ready for me to read a section?
Or you want me to read the first one? You read.
No, I'm going to read the first one. You're just going to respond to it, dude.
Oh.
You're not supposed to act like you even have a copy of it. goofball.
Oh, we got notes today. Check this out,
I know.
folks.
I know.
Behind the scenes.
All right. Stop looking at it.
What's this paper with words on it?
Okay, so the first section, a growing number of Americans apparently, so it says, for whom do wedding bells toll? For a growing number of Americans, apparently, everything from a surge in engagement ring sales to booked up venue rentals indicate we're headed for a major marriage boom.
No way.
Writing this off to pent-up demand doesn't fully capture what's happening here, for better or worse. The history of previous marriage booms suggests that human emotions, particularly those associated with collective traumas, can play a big role in nudging people to the altar and then ensuring they remain married or pushing them to split up.
No way.
Well, that's what it says here. So it says what's interesting is that a study found that marriages that were consummated during economic downturns actually proved longer lasting than unions in periods of relative prosperity, possibly because of the stronger bonds forged by enduring tumultuous times together.
It kind of makes sense if you think about it with if you get married at such a high, and I know from my previous marriage, I don't want to speak ill of it, but I think it kind of was like that. For me personally, I was kind of going on an upswing because I had a decent paying job. I just bought my first place. I just bought my first vehicle all by myself, and I was kind of on an upswing. So I was thinking that the next thing I should do. And back then, this is before the economy crashed, just right before. So everybody was like, yeah, money. Everything sounds great. The houses are going up. Everything's going great. The economy's great. They're building homes left and right. Banks are giving out loans to anybody who wants one. And I was like, yeah, it's free for all. I was in a good mood. Like a lot of people were. And so let's get married. Let's do this. And
because it's like when you're on a winning streak in Vegas and you feel like you're invincible.
Drinks are on me, everybody.
Yeah, drinks are on me. Let's keep going. Let's roll down to the next casino. This streak can't stop. And then when it does, it's like a harsh reality and you lose everything.
Or if it changes just a little bit,
right?
Like you have a couple bad hands, like if you're using the Vegas analogy, then you're like, oh, you get that sudden depression. I remember I was playing roulette a couple times and I was on a really big winning streak. I was like hitting. And then you hit nothing and then nothing and then nothing, and you see a pile of chips start to dwindle, and it sucks the joy right out of your soul.
Yeah, I can see how that would be. But what it does say here is that this concept of marriages lasting longer in periods of than just marriages in periods of prosperity highlights an important but little appreciated dimension of the ebb and flow of marriage rates. That quantity isn't the same as quality. And what they're saying is this is something to keep in mind as the wedding bells are ringing for so many people, is that it's more about the quality of the relationship than the quantity of time together. What do you think?
Wait, if you were locked down in COVID last year, if you were in lockdown like you're supposed to have been, then a lot of these people were together so much. I can't even imagine them wanting to get married. We're like, I just want to get away from you. I can't even stand being around you right now.
Well, it depends, right? I mean, if that's your person, some people, I think it would solidify bonds. Like, oh my gosh, I really saw who this person really was and I fell in love with them. Maybe they were just starting to date, and they might not have even been living together, but maybe they figured out, maybe the guy figured out really unique ways to have social distance dates or, whatever, and really made an effort. And for the girl, she was like, man, during this time that's really hard, he really showed up for me. Or, if one partner was to end up with battling COVID or COVID depression, which is what I refer to it as. And
wait, what's COVID depression?
I feel like a lot of people had these COVID blues where it's from being isolated alone so much.
Oh, you couldn't go out to the movies. I want to go to the movies. I can't. I want to go here. I can't. I want to go there. I can't,
Right. And so, it could be that they saw each other for who they really are. And so I think about some couples might have been together for, 3 or 4 years and still debating on whether or not to get married, where you might have these couples that maybe started dating just before the pandemic or right at the beginning of it, and who are certain now that they want to get married. What do you think? Also, too, you think about this. I just had a thought we were saying that is that how you've been in a long-term relationship before, haven't you? Yes, I was married for 11 years.
No, long-term.
We were dating for 3 years before that.
I meant long distance.
Oh, yeah, that was the one too.
A long-distance relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're in a long-distance relationship, say you live, and even if it's okay, let's put it in a scenario where it's so far apart that you can't see each other every weekend.
Right.
It's so far apart, say you live will you visit maybe once a month or or twice a year? Maybe, right?
Okay, once a month or twice a year. Okay.
Yeah, ideally. But so let's say you meet twice a year, right?
Okay.
So you don't see each other as often. So when
Okay.
you do see each other, it's like meeting each other for the first time, and you get a little nervous and stuff and all that. So you kind of like, so when you do get married, I heard a lot of those marriages, they don't seem to work out because they weren't together so long in the beginning. So when they finally get together, they're kind of like, wait a second, you do that with the laundry? What is that about that? You load the dishwasher wrong, or you snore? I didn't know you snored. There's a lot of the little quirks that you kind of get to used to after being with somebody for so long. And I think that if you are with somebody in COVID, that process really gets accelerated.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's kind of like a relationship accelerator. And I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, we were hearing news reports about the dramatic increase in divorces and separations and people that
That's
are
the first thing on my mind,
and domestic violence because things that were previously hidden were amplified.
Well, you're bottling up. You're taking two people that probably are on the verge of like bickering a lot, and then you cram them into a house. And if it's a small house, oh my gosh! Like say you live in New York and you have like a 100 square foot apartment or whatever.
100 square foot apartment.
And then you're living in there.
There's my toilet and my bed, same thing.
And then you pretty much, like, you got to sit on the toilet today. You sleep on the toilet. And then it's like your small little place. And then I get to see how, like, like when you get angry at me. I know, it happens sometimes.
What? I never get angry. I'm an angel.
That is true. But I'm saying some women in my past have gotten angry at me. And they have decided to storm out and get mad and run off in their Explorer. Not to mention...
I'm feeling called out here.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying some women
that drive Explorers.
It might be a red Explorer. I don't know.
That may or may not be married to you at this moment.
And they take off and they get angry. You have that space to do that. And technically with COVID, during the heart of it all, they really didn't want anybody leaving at all. But come on, I don't know how many people, unless they were like really, really sick or they had one of those symptoms where if they got COVID, they were like on death's doorstep, symptomatic or whatever. Mm-hmm. So if you did not fall into that category, I would guarantee that not everybody just sat home and didn't leave. People left.
It's possible, but this conversation around relationship accelerators brings up another point from the Bloomberg article, and it says, when a collective trauma hits a society, it forces people to reevaluate their priorities and their partners. Questions that may have seemed remote or irrelevant, whether, for example, they wanted to grow old alone, suddenly acquire new urgency. Some individuals tie the knot, others get divorced, others do both repeatedly.
Wait, so let me get this straight. You're going to get married and then divorced same weekend? What? Like
I don't know.
Saturday you get married, Sunday you get divorced. They should have like a business. That's a new business. You figure this out. It's called the marriage divorce business. We do them both. You get two for the price of one. If you get a marriage with us, we throw in a free divorce counseling at the end next weekend.
It's like their guarantee. It's like if you're not said, you can exchange.
And then also they should have a dating
365 days.
A dating website too attached to it. It's you go from the marriage to the divorce to the dating website. It's like an all-encompassed service.
Yeah, but it's a satisfactory guarantee. So yeah, your satisfaction is guaranteed. So you get married with us, we guarantee that you'll be satisfied. Otherwise, we'll provide you your divorce for free and help you get your way to your next divorce.
There you go. Patent pending.
Yeah. Courtesy of Kris and Kristine. No, but, not to make light of it, because we know that a lot of relationships did end over the pandemic. But what it's saying here, I think, is that when you're forced into these tumultuous times, and especially if you were isolated, it makes people like reconsider what their priorities were. And like it said here, whether or not you wanted to grow old alone or whether or not you wanted to grow old with the person that you are kind of tied up with. And, I think that because I see therapists, well, not anymore because I graduated, but.
Wait, you graduated from being a therapist?
I liked to go to therapy. It felt really good.
How does someone graduate from that?
I don't know. She just said that I'm doing great and I don't need to see her anymore.
Oh, maybe she's too busy to see you?
No, just stop. Stop putting thoughts in my head like that. But one of the things that she and I were talking about is that, people in relationships weren't intended to be together as much as everyone was when they were forced to be at home full time because of COVID. It was like 365 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You couldn't go do anything. And then on top of it, self-care went out the window where people weren't able to women weren't able to go do their normal stuff. Let's go to Starbucks. Let's go get coffee. Let's get our hair done. Let's get our nails done. Let's go have girls' night, wine tasting. Or guys, like, let's go play golf. Well, I guess many of the golf places were open.
I thought they shut down everything. I don't know.
I don't know. But the point here is, I guess that when people are in isolation, it makes them reevaluate. And I guess that's what led to more people deciding to get married and some to get divorced.
So speaking on the marriage part, why would somebody who's living somebody so much decide, you know what, we're together this much, COVID happened, and maybe they don't know the certainty of their job, or they don't know the certainty of the situation of their living situations, things like that, because they can't pay their rent or their mortgage or whatever. So why would what couple decide, you know what, of all the things that we don't know that we're certain about, why get married?
Well, I think I would ask that question to you because, 10 weeks before we got married and we found out we couldn't get married in Hawaii, I gave you an out. I said we could change the date, and you were insistent that you wanted to keep November 20th. And after being around me so much and being in isolation and us living together, you still were bent on getting married right, like when we had planned. What led you to keep with your plans?
I think seeing how you responded to all the disasters that we had over the COVID year, 2020. I mean, heaven forbid, neither one of us got real. I mean, you got sick, but not saying nothing to the point of like ventilator kind of sick,
right?
Anything like that. So,
and that was after the wedding.
Right. Okay. So before the wedding, leading up to it, we had those disasters with the house, the flood up here and the flood downstairs, and the way you organized everything, the way you dealt with all the contractors, the way you written everything down in detail, the price for every job, every listing of everything, how you went back and forth with the insurance agent, how you got them to pay for this and do all this stuff. All that stuff I saw was like, I was so impressed with all that, of that, the way you're able to handle that stuff, because I was very stressed out.
Oh, yeah, you were.
If it was up to me by myself to do all that stuff, I probably would have said, okay, insurance guy, just do whatever. I'm just going to
just bulldoze the house.
Just whatever you got to do. If you're going to knock it down, whatever.
Take it to the studs.
I don't even know anymore. I'm like, I'm so stressed out. Like, whatever you got to do. But
you would have let them like dig up the entire interior of the house and pay like $1 billion.
It'd be funny if like it was up to me, they'd be like digging a hole in the backyard. They'd be like, what are you doing, guys? The flood's in the garage. I'd be like, okay, I don't even know what happened. But the thing with you is you were able to handle all that stuff. And I know that with the wedding, you were very much on point, figuring out every little budget, every little thing, figuring out. As before, it was kind of, not to say about my previous marriage, but it was saying a lot of it was kind of like up in the air, like, oh, I guess we're taking care of this, or I guess this is that. And I didn't know that like the day of my last wedding, not this wedding, but the previous wedding, I had to drop $3,000 cash the day of the wedding. And I was like, what? What's this about? Oh, somebody had to pay a back fee or back something or other. Like, well, I guess I'm breaking in this new credit card, or whatever. But that led to a disaster. But I'm saying that like you are so well prepared, and I need somebody in my life that is more prepared than I am. And I think
which doesn't say a lot.
I think I'm pretty prepared.
Okay.
Well, I put gas in the car.
Yeah, you do. You keep our cars gassed up and washed. Thank you for that.
That's about as far as my car expertise go.
But I think that goes to when you were asking the question, why would other people get married even after having all this time together? And I think that you answered your own question is if somebody finds their person that helps them feel grounded and stable in the midst of so much uncertainty, then for some people, they just want to latch on to that and they don't want to let it go.
It's like you don't let a good thing go. You know what I'm saying, baby? You are a good thing in my life, so I don't want to let you go, baby.
Right. So you had to lock it down. You put a ring on it and you had to take this one off the market, right?
Absolutely right. And I heard that you were a hot commodity being hit on at a wedding yesterday.
I may have been hit on at
What's
the
up
wedding.
with that? So Kristine over there, hot.
I know. I was all sweaty and yucky, but I did not encourage it. And I made sure to talk amply about my husband, Kris. And yes.
So how's it feel to be hit on? I get hit on all the time.
It was flattering for a second and then it felt completely wrong. And I was like, I'm not going to give any room for this. I'll be kind, but I'm not going to be inviting of any unwanted attention because I felt like even if I was to engage for a second in like banter or anything like that it just rubs me the wrong way.
I do.
I'm like the true blue person forever with you.
Well, I always lead the ladies on a little bit, and then I drop them the business card for the Kris and Kristine show. And they say, check it out. Because if you go to the website, you can see us and everything too. It's like, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm a podcaster. Oh, yeah, cool. Hey, here's a card. So I give her my card, and then she follows us on Instagram.
and then you ask her, what church do you go to?
Yes, and we have conversations.
Stalkerazzi.
Yeah, okay.
Well, okay. So back to the article when we were talking about weddings and marriages and the wedding and marriage boom. So here's what, and I'm going to read a couple paragraphs. So yes, you can interrupt me if you want to. But Bloomberg says, and I think it's not Bloomberg themselves, but their writer says all of this information about the move to get married faster suggests that the COVID-19 pandemic may well have lasting impacts on the marital status of many Americans. It may speed some divorces, yes, but that's countered by the huge swell of weddings across the country that we're beginning to see. And that may even lead to a baby boom.
What?
That could help slow the long-term declines in fertility, though that's a more open question.
Wait, what's this long-term fertility you're talking about?
So there's been a decline in fertility rates within the United States because a lot of couples are sticking with just like having one child because it's so expensive to raise a kid.
Oh, it's a money thing, huh?
Well, so there's been, declines in fertility. And also you'll have couples that would rather just have one or two kids and be able to set them up for life than have like 4, 5, or 6 and not be able to help them be successful. And so there's been this long-term, like slow decrease in fertility rates.
Do you think I've had like Planned Parenthood and like the pill and all that kind of stuff has anything to do with this kind of stuff?
Well,
like
I'm just talking about in the last couple of years. So those aren't new. Those aren't new innovations.
I know, but people have been taking them for the last so many years. It may think jack your systems up, maybe.
No, it's just that people are consciously making a decision to wait until they're older. Couples are waiting to get married until they're older, and then.
What do you think is too old to have a kid?
Well, I mean, definitely your body will tell you when it's too old, and then it's just like gets more high risk.
If you physically could have a kid, well, if you say you physically could have a kid at any age, just theoretically, right? What would be no, this is it, no more at this age?
I don't get to say what that is. It's every woman's body, and I think that
so you're 60 years old, you're gonna have a kid.
If you want to,
at 60,
why not?
You'll be 100 before the poor kid's in high school.
So.
Or whatever the math is. I can't.
Why don't be getting down on what people's choices are. So my point here is, what was really interesting to me in reading this is it made me think about like World War II. So after World War II, you had all of these couples that got married before their soldiers went overseas because they didn't know if they were going to come back, and I want to marry you and be together. And then when those soldiers came home, there was a huge baby boom, and that's why we have the boomers. That's
right, the boomers. Now, the boomers today happen to be what age now? Like in the 70s?
Yeah, they're in their 70s, and so we're
So those are the babies, or those are the ones that had the kids?
Those are the babies
of the kids. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they're kids of World War II veterans. But there was a huge surge, and it wasn't just those that were coming back from the war. It was the family or the couples that were married through the war, or like newlyweds right after the war, because the whole concept here is it's not even just those that are the soldiers that were deployed, but anybody that was impacted might have this tendency to like get married sooner, and it may result in a baby boom.
That's fantastic. I hate to be Mr. Doom and Gloom around here, but if you watch any of the news reports about the COVID deaths they've had over the last year, really, if there is a baby boom, it may replenish those losses.
Well, I mean, yes, people aren't replaceable, but it could be
for the population.
It could be a way for the population. It sounds very scientific to kind of rebound, and that's hard to think about because we've all been through so much trauma. But what's interesting, the last little bit that it says in this article, it says whether these marriages last, though, is another matter. It's worth considering one final piece of research on weddings conducted by 2 economists. They found that the money couples spent on wedding rings and the ceremony itself was inversely related to the long-term viability of the marriage. The more ostentatious the wedding, the less likely it would endure.
I hear that all the time. I say a big wedding does not guarantee a long-lasting marriage.
Right.
So even if you do a small wedding, even if you go to the courthouse, right? You just do sign the paperwork, so you can do you share Cheerios as your rings or whatever. I don't know. But I'm saying you do something simple like that. it can still last because of the meaning is what's more grounded and rooted than a big flashy wedding. I think especially you did a wedding yesterday. You told me this, how like San Diego is all about the flashy weddings, right? It's all about the big ta-da and all that. So I wonder if you do a big flashy wedding, a big mega wedding, I wonder how many of those truly do last.
I don't know. Well, it says here, if you're invited to a post-pandemic wedding, then don't worry if it's a simple, understated, inexpensive affair. These are the couples whose unions are the most likely to stand the test of time, no matter what disasters await us in the coming years.
So basically what Kristine's saying is that you have a small wedding, you have a greater chance of your marriage lasting.
Well, we can't just say to people, okay, have a small wedding so your marriage will last. I think
I'm saying that you go ahead.
But I think that it's the people who approach the marriage as the more important factor versus the wedding. Like they say the wedding is a process that we're going through to get to the marriage, whereas the wedding is the destination. And you sent me the funniest video yesterday about weddings, and the guy was talking about how, and I'm not saying this is always true, but the wedding is mostly for the woman. And what did he say about it's
a what do you call it?
A one contestant beauty pageant,
yes,
right?
Yes, like one contestant. Yes, that's basically what it is, really.
I mean, I love weddings, but then when I saw that video, I was dying. Like, I was watching it up here in bed this morning, and I laughed so loud that I must have scared the dog because I was watching it, and it's bad language in it, but it was like, the guy is saying, like, I didn't even get to walk down the aisle. They're like, you go there, don't say anything, stand there and look at me. And then when the bride comes out, everybody stands and all eyes are on her. And she's walking the catwalk, dramatically, maybe being escorted by someone, or maybe she just wants to go by herself. And
right.
It's very, and I looked through that lens and I thought, oh, that's hilarious. But, a wedding is a piece to just like an entryway into the legal aspect of marriage. And
don't you legally get that thing signed before you get married?
You sign it, but you have to have somebody officiate it. But there's people that go down to the courthouse and just do it very simply. And, courthouse here is doing, oh my gosh, they're calling it Walk-Up Wednesdays.
What's that?
Walk-up weddings.
Oh, really?
You can walk up and they'll let you get married in their beautiful outside garden, which in San Diego Courthouse, they have this beautiful garden area, and it's actually really pretty for a wedding.
I have a dumb question.
What?
In the state of California, are you allowed to marry other things like your dog or something?
No.
Oh, dumb question. I'm just asking.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb.
Well, I'm thinking like if I was to do a walk-up wedding, that'd be all I'd use it for. Like, walk up with a dog or your pig or whatever you have.
Oh my gosh, you're so horrible. You're such a goofball. My pig really helped me get through COVID.
Well, he did. It reminds me because Jacob and I watched the Simpsons movie. In the Simpsons movie, Homer gets a pig and he's petting it and calling it his pet pig, and he's walking around the ceiling with it and do all his it was
walking around the ceiling.
Well, it was funny because Marge comes down in the movie. And she's like, "How these pig hooves get on the ceiling?" And then Homer's got the pig on the ceiling, holding him up, look, spider pig.
You're such a nut.
Yeah.
But when I read this, it really did open my eyes about a number of things. And that is, as you're getting ready to get married, our advice would be to make sure that you're thinking through and talking through all of the important aspects of life, that you don't want to be impulsive and run into something. And, talk about the taboo topics. Like, what do we always say you must talk about? Finances, kids, religion. Yeah, you must talk about those things. And then, what are your deal breakers in the relationship? It's important to just be really clear about everything. And, I also was reflecting on the fact that our wedding was extremely beautiful and small. It was our backyard affair. It was magical. I loved it so much.
And the beach, Sunset Cliffs photos and the shot there at that place.
But I wouldn't call it ostentatious.
No, I don't know. I think also too, we had a guest list of 30 maybe?
Yeah, 35.
35. So I think what they're talking about is maybe these magical weddings where they have 100 people. They have...
The 100 is small, dude. You mean 800 people?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't host these things. How would I know? But speaking of which, what would be a expensive wedding? Price wise.
So I think that the averages right now for weddings in San Diego are between $30,000 to $50,000.
That all inclusive?
Everything, yeah.
$50,000.
That not the honeymoon. And not, but it includes like the bride's dress and then everything for the wedding. Oh, it includes the dress.
I did not include the.
It's for the most part it includes the dress and everything else. It's like I think it's like $35,000 to $50,000, which is a down payment on a house.
Now, is that like now that number sounds familiar. I've heard the number being thrown around, like 25,000 has been kind of the number thrown around for the last, like how many years I've been researching this, was not that long, but I'm saying that like, I wonder if that depends on the different areas of the country. Like if you live in, say, Alabama, is it cheaper than it's in San Diego and things like that? You did mention that places middle of the country have a hard time getting flowers. So those costs probably, go over the cost of, say, a place or whatever. Possibly.
Well, while you were just talking, I was able to use Google and find from valuepenguin.com.
Oh, I love Value Penguin.
A subsidiary of Lendingtree, that the average cost of a wedding in 2020 was $20,300, a $4,400 per wedding increase from the year before. So it went down in 2020. So it was in 2019, it was around $24,700. But the average cost of a wedding by state shows that the highest or the most expensive and least expensive states to get married in, most expensive are Massachusetts, New Jersey, Connecticut, DC, New York, Maryland, New Hampshire, California.
Okay.
And then Hawaii.
Okay.
And then at the bottom of the list, I mean, it doesn't have all 50 states labeled, and maybe some of them don't rank here, but the lowest with the average cost is Arkansas, West Virginia, Mississippi, Kentucky. I called it. So Arkansas, West Virginia, Mississippi, Kentucky, Oklahoma. And so the average is right in the middle. It's around 20,000 from last year. But it says 7 of the 10 cheapest places to get married are in the South, while the other 3 states among the most affordable places to get married are in the West: New Mexico, Montana, and Nevada. And so
you said all the prices kind of went down, right?
Yeah, last year. It doesn't say what this year is yet because we're still in the middle of the year. I think I might be able to Google it, but it's very interesting if you think about the cost of a wedding. And we spent way less than even half of that for our wedding.
I was kind of wondering, as you're saying that, how the average went down for 2020. I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that less number of weddings actually happened in 2020.
And maybe smaller too, because you couldn't have these really ostentatious.
So you probably should
events.
you probably have to look up 2019's numbers.
That's what they said, that it was $24,700. So it was $4,300 more or something.
More in 2020 or less in 2020?
It was. In 2019, it was over $4,000 more.
Yes, because of the drops in the actual numbers of weddings in 2020, and because you couldn't have large groups in 2020.
Right.
So you have all those factors put in, so it does bring the number down.
Right.
And I bet you didn't see a lot of those big lavish, like yacht weddings or whatever, with thousands of people or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they'd put thousands on a yacht, but I see what you're going for, unless you're Titanic,
Right. Yeah, rent out Titanic.
But the point here is it's okay to be not basic. It's okay to be simple in your execution of your wedding. And I think that that's one of the things that I love about having this business is I get to work with couples from a range of different types of weddings. And right now, what's a lot that's coming at me for this rest of the year until the end of December are some kind of more simple but beautiful, elegant outdoor celebrations so people can have space and there's distancing that's allowed for COVID precautions. And I've already have several that are on the books for the following year.
No way, look at you.
That are 250 guest list plus in large banquet halls.
Now, is that depending on the COVID restrictions or how's that work?
Well, they're expecting that by the end of 2022, because these are far, far off. My books are all the way open through next December.
They said that last year.
I know. But the point is I love seeing love in its authentic, natural environment, because there's something about being in a space that you're comfortable in, like when we had ours in our backyard, or yesterday's that was in the parents' backyard, and it was so beautiful. And just I love going to event spaces too. I'm not opposed to anything. It's just every different venue has a different vibe. And so I think it's really important for couples, if they're thinking about jumping into getting married, is to really think about what uniquely feels like it's right for the couple.
Amen. Sis, that was well said, well spoken.
Thank you.
And Kristine is the best wedding coordinator in this house.
Oh, well, thank you. I thought you were going to say in the South. And I was like, well, we're not in the South, dude, but South San Diego. Okay.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, but thanks for letting us talk about weddings and marriages today. I was just really interested to hear your perspective on the wedding boom, which it ends up looks like it's the marriage boom and maybe possibly a baby boom.
Yes, definitely. So look out. Hey, so basically what we're trying to tell you is that buy stock in hampers or pampers and baby bottles.
Maybe. Or just, prepare for a population boom maybe in the next couple of years.
Oh, if you have a nursery or like say a daycare, you might get that. If you're thinking about on the fence but getting a daycare license or whatever, I would get it.
Oh, I would agree because there is a huge decline in the number of preschools and daycares because of so many not being able to survive being closed down because of COVID.
That's too bad.
There's a huge need right now for childcare, and I think that it's only going to get more significant.
Oh, gosh. So I'm going to open a couple daycares, actually. The Kris and Kristine daycare service.
The K2 daycare.
We're not having the kids here, of course.
It's like that movie, Daddy Daycare, where it's like extreme.
Yeah, there you go.
You let the kids paint everything, but... this has been such a fun episode, Kris. Thanks for giving me your honest, unfiltered opinion about
like I always do, baby.
Marriages.
You know I do. Come on, you know how I do it.
Yeah, and so where can people find us?
We can find us on the old interweb at www.krisandkristineshow.com.
And that's Kris and Kristine with K's. And you can find out about my new business at KristineSmithDesigns.com. And that's Kristine with a K and Designs with an S.
And what I'm thinking about doing is I might actually put your website link on our website. So people I'll have to work on that. I have to talk to the guys at the web design department and ask if they can figure that out.
And you'll have to talk with our agent and our producer to see if they're okay with cross-marketing because,
Bob doesn't mind about that stuff.
I don't know.
But Phil, that guy's a jerk.
Yeah, but Frank does too.
I know. So we'll be back here next week.
Remember this week that life is too short to wake up in the morning with regret.
So love the people who treat you right, forget about the ones who don't, and believe that everything happens for a reason.
If you get a chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. Nobody said that it would be easy.
They just promised it would be worth it. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kris.
And I'm Kristine. And until next week,
keep moving forward.